You are listening to On the Map, a podcast produced by Music Artist Pipeline. Today's guest is independent country artist Aaron Tanner.
Everybody's searching for something needs to hurt.
Aaron hails from Kibbe, Georgia, and has won awards for his songwriting as well as his musicianship on guitar and other instruments. Aaron is also an employee of the famed Paul Anderson Youth Home located in Vidalia, Georgia. There he works with teen boys from various and diverse backgrounds.
Some smoke dope and some drink liquor, and some need something quicker. But they all stay the same when they lay down at night.
Also joining us today is his manager, Terry Richardson. Terry is a performer, promoter, and member of the legendary Grand Ole Opry.
Everybody's just chasing another high. And I'm glad that one day I gave it all away.
Aaron's traditional country style, mixed with a hint of gospel, is a fresh take that pays homage to his southern gospel and bluegrass roots.
Peace, and now my heart's at ease, and I'll never need another high.
Aaron will be performing his single, Jesus, Smith & Wesson, and the Marlboro Man, that is slated to be released in the fall. Stick around and enjoy this interview as we get to know new traditional country artist Aaron Tanner here at On the Map. We've got in the studio today Aaron Tanner and his illustrious manager Terry Richardson.
I don't even know what that means.
It means you the bomb biggity.
Oh.
No, Terry's a great guy. It's kind of cool. I take partial blame for putting these guys together. Terry came in and brought some tracks, and I was helping him. I think he thought I was just going to put together a little stereo track for him to rehearse with, and I ended up putting a little bit of piano, a little bit of bass, and some background vocals on it, and it turned out really fun.
It did, really good.
I enjoyed it.
Good job on it.
And but I've been working with Aaron. How long have we been working together now? A year, not quite a year and a half, maybe.
Something like that. Maybe I think something like that. I don't know.
But it seems like a long time. Whenever you get to working with artists and you're creating, it just seems like a forever sometimes. Yeah. But it's a good forever. But anyway, for those of you who haven't met Aaron or know about his music, what we wanted to do was introduce you guys. So one of the first things I wanted to ask Aaron is, hey, how'd you get started in the music world?
Well, I guess born into it. My parents they're multi-instrumentalists and songwriters and singers, and my daddy's been a pastor most of my life, so I grew up in church. They would sing. Mama played the piano and Daddy played the bass, and so I just singing. Actually, the other day on my Facebook, I posted a video where Mama had found an old cassette tape of me singing. Remember that cartoon Rock-a-Doodle from the 90s where Glenn Campbell played the lead character? I was singing some song off of that. I loved that cartoon as a kid, and I was just singing it, to the top of my lungs and everything. And so I just always sung. And about 12, I think I got my first guitar. I told my mom, I said, I know what I want for Christmas. And she's like, what? I said, I want a flat top guitar because Elvis has one. He's got all the girls there. A guitar is a chick magnet. And so we started playing about 12, and then about probably around 14 started writing songs, and just kind of took off from there.
Oh, cool. I'm almost 49 now, and one of my earliest memories as a kid, we had an old record player that Granny didn't use anymore, and it was one of those little fold-out ones, Yeah. And me and my brother, we would listen to little Elvis singles that they would let us listen to, and those were probably worth a ton of money. We didn't know it at the time. And but yeah, I think we all grew up listening to a little Elvis somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to have this little Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy thing that would play 45s. I think I still have it. I don't know if it works though. And I would listen to. I had a bunch of singles, just a whole pile of them just piled in my closet. And I still have one of the ones I always loved was Glenn Campbell has Southern Nights on one side and William Tell Overture on the other. And I still have it today. I'd listen to that thing all the time.
Yeah. Weren't you playing something online? Didn't you post a little clip of the William Tell thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Aaron's a really good guitar player. He's got a little bit of a bluegrass and gospel background, and he's done some really nice tracks here in the studio. And as a guy that's trying to help local talent, when somebody can come in and actually play, we're always happy about that because not everybody can actually play on time and play with a good feel. So it's cool to work with with you, and I'm kind of glad I was able to connect you and Terry. It seems like y'all about ready to take over the world.
We trying.
Yeah, I hope so. Got a lot of things happening, surprisingly, and so Aaron's doing a good job. I'm proud of him, and I love his music, and I've just got a lot of things happening, not only in Nashville but here in Georgia as well.
Okay.
So got a lot of dates coming up, and actually got his first concert there in Leapers Fort, Tennessee, coming up in June. So we look forward to that, and.
The only people ain't doing it are the ones not doing it. I mean, you got to get out there and make it happen.
Exactly.
Now, you work with the Paul Anderson Youth Home. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been there, I think July will make 3 years. I didn't realize I'd been there that long. But anyway, July will make 3 years I've been there. And for people that don't know, Paul Anderson Youth Home was started by Paul Anderson, obviously. He was an Olympic gold medalist and billed as the strongest man that ever lived at one time. He claimed he did a backlift of, I think, 6,270 pounds.
Yeah, he won, was it the 56?
Yeah, 56 Olympics in Melbourne. So he started, after all that, he started this home for troubled teenage boys. And so we get a lot of guys that have charges or drug backgrounds. And sometimes we'll get some that's just basically unruly and the parents don't know what to do with them. We help a lot of guys between the ages of, I think it's 16 and 21. We take in, and they live there, and I think our maximum capacity is only like 20, and they live there, and we'll teach them about the Lord and try to teach them good work ethic and how not to be crazy and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm the best teacher for that last part, but I try.
Yeah, you are. Just because you pick a guitar, that don't mean you're a bad feller. Sometimes musicians, we get the worst reputation, but some of the nicest, most stable people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Well, maybe except for Terry sitting over there.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm not saying anything. Aaron's pretty good as long as he's not in Nashville. In Georgia, he's pretty straight. When he gets in Tennessee, it's a different story.
Uh-oh. Maybe,
just kidding.
Maybe Hannah's not listening to
this. Just kidding. Hannah knows how I am.
Yeah, I remember when as a kid, Paul Anderson, for those of you who don't know, strongest man in the world, won the 56 Olympics. At the time, the Russians were just unbeatable, and he just went in there and just whooped their butts. And I remember reading articles about one of the Russians' Olympic powerlifting coach. When he saw Paul Anderson lift, he's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was just amazing. He was just a freak of nature. But it's really cool to have that place just down the road in Vidalia, Georgia.
Yeah, I've read the book that they put out, and when they went to Russia, is the Olympic lifting team is before the Olympics, but they went as like goodwill ambassadors or something, and they were competing against the Russians, and it was kind of that whole Cold War rivalry and everything. The other guys lifted, and then Paul out.
Didn't he warm up, did he?
Yeah, he never warmed up. He would just go squat like 1,000 pounds and never warm up. You can rip a tendon in half doing something like that. But he went out there. It was his turn to lift, and they loaded the bar, and he was like, no, keep loading it. And they kept loading it. And finally, some of the Russian guys, they asked the coach, is your man going to lift, or is he just going to stand there and stare at the bar? And he's like, I won't, keep loading it. And they said, you just tell us how much you want on it, and we'll put it on there. And he told them it was higher than the world record. And what it was, he was going to clean and press it overhead. And whatever he told them, I don't remember, I think it was like 400 or 500 pounds or something like that. It was some ridiculous weight. And he told them, said, put that on there. That's what I want to lift. And they was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they put it on there, and he just walks up the bar and just lifts it. And they said the crowd went crazy. The whole Russian crowd, and they're supposed to sit, they're supposed to sit there and just hate Americans, but he pressed it overhead, and they said they just lost their minds.
Yeah, his feats were legendary.
Oh yeah.
Dad used to see him. He would make the rounds, and he would go to schools. And actually, I think he would kind of share some testimonial stuff as he would go, which you could do that back then. You can't do that nowadays, of course, but he would do feats of strength and share his testimonies. I remember back in the day, it was just a cool thing. I'd see the local TV commercials, Paul Anderson appearing so-and-so.
Yeah.
And so I never got to see him in person, but his feats are well known in this area. Now, Terry, you guys have been making the Nashville circuits up there. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, we've got Aaron doing a lot of things up there. which, like I said a little while ago, I'm proud of him. And so I've got there's a lot of shows there that introduced Aaron to, and doing really well. We've got Puckett's out at Leapers Fort, Tennessee, which I call my little hometown for years. If y'all know where Puckett's is out towards Franklin, Tennessee. And so he's doing his first concert there, and he played there at Puckett's a couple of weeks ago, and they want him back for a concert.
Well, that's good.
And so now we've got, and of course, I've had him down on Broadway as well. He's been on Broadway. I can't remember what else.
Let's see, we've done Belcourt Taps.
Belcourt Taps there at Belmont University.
Yeah, and that one down there on Broadway. And this last trip, I think that was only 2. That, and then we did it was an open mic at Puckett's, and they just loved me so much, they told me they wanted me to come back. And I was like,
yeah, it was, we get to thinking about the COVID thing too as well. When we was there, when Miss Debbie called me, she said, Terry, she's not going to believe this, but the show is sold out. Standing room only. And I said, really? I said, what about the COVID? So, everything went really well, and I think it's very unusual that it was sold out. Had a really good, a lot of entertainers there that night, but I think Aaron stood out. I might be a little prejudiced because I'm managing, but I think he stood out among the rest of them. So he done really well.
For those of you who haven't seen Aaron's video or heard his music yet, let me take just a second to describe Aaron's style. Aaron is one of the most real country gentlemen you'll probably ever meet. When we were shooting his video, and Mill Cannon was the guy that directed the video, a good friend of mine, Aaron kept telling Mill, yes, sir, yes, sir. And Mill's like, you don't have to call me sir, just call me Mill. He's like, yes, sir. And that's Mill likes that story. He's but the thing about Aaron, man, he is authentic. He's real country, and people love that. People are tired of the fake, pre-programmed stuff that they're hearing on the radio, and I think there's going to be a resurgence of real country music.
I think so.
And you just mentioned that the show was sold out. People want to get out and hear good music. And if you can give them good music and get right on the cusp of that, what the people want, you got a really good chance of doing something really big, even further than what you've already accomplished. So I'm all for it, man. I'm happy to hear you guys' success.
And I want to mention, too, that Aaron is playing at the theater there in Franklin as well. It's coming up. And it's not the Franklin Theater, but it's the Mockingbird Theater, which is a very nice... The Franklin Theater is a very nice theater as well, but the Mockingbird is also a very nice theater, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Now, Franklin, that's where all the serious Nashville guys live, isn't it? Or I've kind of always heard that.
They're in Franklin Road in Brentwood. Well, you got... Okay, the way I look at it, you had George and Tammy lived on that side of town on 65 over in Franklin, and then you say people like Jack Green and Roy Acuff and people like that, Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty, where they lived over on the other side of like the north side of town, which at the Hendersonville, Gallatin, that area there. So you got them all spread out, and even have to go back, y'all probably know Bean, what's his name? It got robbed years ago when they
String Bean.
String Bean.
Yeah.
He lives like going out towards Loretta's, like Waverly, Tennessee, out in that area. So
now you mentioned Jamie and Georgette. Tell us a little bit of how you got to become friends with them, and because we've actually through all our music connections, we've actually been able to work together, and Jamie's done some tracks for us. And tell us about your relationship with those guys.
Well, to start with, I have to give all the. Who would ever thought that years ago. Me being in the Opry since the middle 80s for 30-something years, backstage at the Opry, that when I met George and Tammy for so many years, I met George more than I had Tammy. George is just hilarious to be around. But who would ever thought that years past that I would get to know Georgette? I remember her backstage at the Opry, but I never thought I'd be... get to know her like I do now, but she's an incredible lady, and I knew Georgette before I did Jamie, and then of course we got together and done Golden Ring. That's one of the singles that I brought to you over here, And then we done the Christmas album back during Christmas. We done that album. We got a gospel thing coming up too as well. Incredible people, beautiful people. It's Aaron well knows, or you too. And that's where, of course, with he plays pedal steel with Eastern Corbin, and he's the one who introduced me to Sean Bailey, which played on Aaron's EP as well.
And he's played with Josh Turner.
Plays with Josh Turner,
some other folks, yeah.
And then David Spires too as well. Plays pedal steel in dobro. And I've got to know so many players that plays with different artists up there, and so. Even all the backstage, the operated, I've been through all these. They used to call me the interviewer about years ago. I was in radio for 34 years. And that's just something I always loved to do. So I've been really blessed.
I know you used to work with a lifelong family friend of ours, Judy Hooks.
Judy Hooks.
And you guys used to book shows in Vidalia and different places. And I always enjoyed that story Judy used to tell that back before Luke Bryan got big, he used to call Judy up all the time, please, Miss Judy, please book me for one of your shows. Let me open up for one of your shows. And y'all would have Sammy Kershaw and Trace Adkins and Blake Shelton and those guys before they got super big.
And Charlie Daniels.
Yeah.
I want to tell a little story about Luke. Judy come to me and said, Terry said, would you ride over to Statesboro with me to the boys' dorm? I said, what are you going to the boys' dorm for? And so I said, why do you need me? She said, because I'm going to the boys' dorm. I said, okay. For
you that don't know, Judy's a pretty good-looking lady. So yeah. Why do you want to go to the boys' dorm?
Of course, that's not the reason I hang around there, because she looks good. By no means. But anyway, we did go over there, and then the guy to answer the door was Luke Bryant. And, of course, Luke was just with Naomi Road. That was the name of their band. Mm-hmm. And so we booked those guys over on the shows. And on the I call it Shuck, but on the casing, it does have Judy and I's credits. And so I kind of saved that. And you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Now that Luke's way up there, But
who would ever thought he would have gone that big,
Yeah.
But he's done very well for himself.
He has. Yeah. He really has.
And then he's bringing along other guys like who are some of the guys that were his roadies, but were pretty decent little songwriters. Now they're starting to get some momentum,
Right.
But the music business, it's a lot of it's about connections and networking.
Yeah. Exactly. But like I say, I think you're right. What you mentioned a little while ago about the making a full circle around. I think that the traditional country is coming back. Even here in Nashville, I really think that, especially where Aaron and I hang out a lot. Not necessarily on Broadway, but we hang out over at the National Palace and places like that, where you hear traditional country music, Yeah. And those guys up there incredible that plays that Aaron and I got to know.
Oh yeah.
For so many years.
I have a friend of mine in Statesboro. I'm a Georgia Southern guy, and one of our studio, he's somewhat of a field rep for us. He was talking about how he went to a karaoke at one of the big places in Statesboro, and he was totally surprised that when people would get up and they're singing like Tyler Childers songs, and he's like, well, cool, somebody's doing Tyler Childers. But what really blew him away was everybody in there knew the song, was singing right along, So there's kind of a shift going on with more singer-songwriter type country artists, which is great because you're getting away from the overproduced and overpolished stuff that they're feeding us all the time,
And I want to mention too, I got a friend there that, of course, I got a lot of friends there, and I appreciate that. But Ashley Wallen, she works with Circle TV in the Grand Ole Opry, and I got Aaron there on the circle there at the Grand Ole Opry, so I thought that was a pretty highlight of his life to be standing on the circle. And I want to give thanks to Ashley for doing that. She's a good, incredible friend.
Yeah. Every time we talk, you're kind of like my buddy Mill up in Atlanta that's worked with everybody. You've been a part of the Grand Ole Opry for many years, and so many of the legends, and so it's always. I know today's podcast was primarily by Aaron, but I sure do like hearing your stories there. So let's get back to Aaron here before he gets a little antsy. So what shows do y'all have coming up?
We have. Somebody asked me that earlier, and I was like,
You like me, you have to look at the calendar.
Yeah, I have to look at the calendar. I was like, we got stuff. That's what we got. And when is it? It's then.
Well, I know you're I know you're playing the Vidalia Onion Festival, right?
Yeah, not the main stage. It's the arts and crafts area there. I don't know, some people may or may not be familiar with how it's set up, but the arts and crafts area has music, and I'll be playing there. That's on the 24th of April, and I think we'll have other artists as well. I think I'm going on like at 1 or something like that, and then
you'll be there that Sunday as well.
Yeah, that Sunday as well. And then June the 12th, Swainsboro Showcase at Swainsboro Auditorium. It's a benefit for the American Legion, I believe it is. And I'm just knocking stuff over here. And so we'll be doing that. And then June the 18th will be at Puckett's up in Leaper's Fork. That's the one Terry was talking about. That's the first time anybody's ever had to actually pay to come see me, and we'll be there.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. And then
they don't call it the music hobby; they call it the music business.
There you go. And then let's see, July 10th, I'll be doing the July Jam in Soperton.
Yeah, and I'm actually running sound for
that.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I'm trying to remember who else is supposed to be there. Salazar. is the headliner, and I think
Corey Spires, local girl.
Yeah, I was thinking Corey Spires is going to be there, and then
actually helping her do a song right now.
Yeah. So. I think they were talking about getting either Clayton Hackle or there's another guy.
Hunter Flanagan.
Yeah. I don't know which one.
He's won a couple of awards at that Georgia Country Showcase that I helped sponsor this year. Yeah.
I don't know which one or if they were even able to. I just know the guy that was booking was telling me some people he was trying to get in touch with about it. But anyway, you're going to have several artists. Fast forward Labor Day weekend, we're going to be at the Labor Day Get Down in Norristown.
Yeah, I've played there a few times. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Norristown is located kind of between Dublin and Swainsboro, out in the country, out in the sticks. But it's a cool little place to have a live music show. They have a few camper connections and setups there, and they bring in a few vendors. And if you just like a very chilled and relaxed music thing, out in the middle of nowhere, nobody bothering you, and you want to hear some good music, that'll be a good one to go to. And that's the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, it's on that Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I forgot, the weekend of the 16th in April, we're going to be in Nashville. I don't think we have any shows set in stone, but we got a few in the works up there, but we'll be up that way.
Yeah, also I want to mention, too, I was talking with Duke Largo last night from Texas, and so we're talking with Miss Patty as well. So we're working on an Austin show, not Austin,
Fort
Worth show at the Livestock Rodeo, right? Is that what it is?
I don't know if it's the
anyway,
Fort Worth Stockyards or something.
It'll be in Fort Worth, and that would probably be in June as well if I can get that ironed out. So
man, that sounds like a road trip.
Yeah,
that would be fun. I've only been to Texas once, but I really enjoyed it. I love San Antonio.
Right,
yeah, I had never been out there. I always wanted to go, but this will be the first time.
Yeah. Well, music's one of those things. If you happen to catch that wave, it'll take you a bunch of places you never thought you'd go.
Oh yeah.
And, the thing I like about what you do, Aaron, and just kind of bragging on you a little bit as a performer, is again, your stuff is just real. You know, so many songs and that's out there. They're just formulaic. You know, we've all seen the YouTube video where they took like 5 or 6 pop country songs and meshed them together. They had the same tempo, the same chord changes, the same melodic structures. Like, it's a formula, and it's like you know, people are getting. It's kind of like politics. People get tired of politics. People want to hear real music. They want to hear something that's a little different. They want to hear something that's authentic. And to me, that's one of the things that's going to help you kind of take off and establish yourself. And I'm glad to be a part of it. Really am. Glad y'all are here today doing this podcast, because we're just kind of getting started with the podcast too.
Well, I appreciate you having us on the program as well.
Absolutely.
Let's see. You said you wanted to do a couple songs. Now, do you want me to play a couple of your songs like here on the podcast, or you just want to do something acoustic? It doesn't matter to me. I can play stuff we've already tracked, or you've already got out, or you can do a little solo thing. Whatever you want to do is fine with me.
Go ahead and play something on your guitar.
This is one I haven't recorded yet, but people seem to like it. This one I wrote for my daddy. He said that before him and my mama met, that he was a drunk and pretty bad off and everything. And then this is a story about how God saved him and turned his life around. And some of the stories I remember him telling growing up about how his life was and everything. And then now, I think I mentioned before, he's been a pastor most of my life. And so I wrote this song for him. And hopefully in the future, when we do go to do a full album, I'm going to put this one on there. But the name of this one is Jesus Smith and Wesson and the Marlboro Man.
On a cold November night in 1986, I took a long look at my life. Said, how did it come to this? A half a pack of Marlboros, a loaded 38, and a Bible on the table, wondering which road should I take. Keep living like I was living, or end it all right now, or give it all to Jesus if he wanted me somehow. Then he came into the room and said, I've been here all along, just watching and waiting for you to come back home. And I thank God that he had mercy when I deserved none at all. He washed away my sins, made my trouble seem so small. You ain't walked the road that I've walked, and you'll never understand what it meant the night that I chose Jesus over Smith and Wesson and the Marlboro Man. He said, I was in that bar when you said, don't let me die this way. And I heard your mom and daddy every time they prayed. And I was the one who kept your bullets hid when there was murder in your heart. And I was there every time your world fell apart. Now all the things you'll never tell is bottled up inside. I can wash it all away. By my grace you'll be justified. So he took away my guilt and he took away my shame. And ever since that night I've never been the same. And I thank God that he had mercy when I deserved none at all. He washed away my sins, made my trouble seem so small. You ain't walked the road that I've walked, and you'll never understand what it meant the night that I chose Jesus over Smith and Wesson and the Marlboro Man. No, you ain't walked the road that I've walked, and you'll never understand what it meant the night that I chose Jesus over Smith and Wesson and the Marlboro Man.
Man, that was awesome. We appreciate you sharing that. That is a just awesome original song.
Thank you.
Hopefully, maybe I can have a part in recording that. I know Terry's probably going to have you up at some of them fancy Nashville studios. But now I got an interesting story to tell. Y'all didn't hear about my experience over the weekend, did you?
I don't think.
Not yet.
I captured an escaped convict considered armed and dangerous.
Yeah, I did read about that. I forgot about that.
Just a quick little share. I live about a mile out of town here, and we had our local sheriff's jail facility is about 10 miles from the house. Somebody escaped Friday afternoon, and he was on the loose for about 2 days. So Tegan and I are sitting at the house, and my 9-year-old, he comes running inside. Hey, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy, there's a man outside. There's a man outside. Well, he didn't know there was an escaped convict. We don't worry the kids with stuff like that, Anyway, so he's kind of nervous, He's not used to guys walking up in the yard. So anyway, we tell him, hey, calm down. It's okay. He's probably just somebody walking down the road, And anyway, a few seconds later, we hear a knock on the door. And I'm thinking to myself, surely this ain't that escaped convict coming up on my porch, knocking on the door. And dang if it wasn't. And Tegan and I, we both knew immediately who it was. We were like, oh, crap, what do we do? So anyway, I opened the door, and I was real polite. I said, hey, man, what's going on? Can I help you? He's like, yeah, man, my truck broke down. Da-da-da-da. I was wondering which way my crate was. Da-da-da. Could I use your phone? Da-da-da. And I'm thinking, all right, now, we got guns. We could hold this guy at gunpoint, or he's in a calm state right now. He's been out in the woods for 2 days, so he's probably hungry and tired. And he was calm and polite, so I decided to be calm and polite back to him, right? So anyway, through all that, he asked for a ride to town. And I said, well, let me step back inside and put on my shoes. And when I did that, I closed the door. He's still on the porch. I whispered to Tegan, I said, call 911. I'm going to take him to the marathon. Now, he's got a bag, and he's considered armed and dangerous, but he just got out of jail, so he probably don't have a gun on him, Now, I'm a pretty big fella. I'm about 5'10 and a half, 280. He's about 6'1", 175, so he's a little more scrawny than I am. I probably could have took him if I had to. But anyway, ended up taking him to town, and his clothes are wet. He'd been out in the woods. And I'm like, he's like, man, I just hop in the back of the truck. And that was a good thing, because then when he hopped in the back of the truck and I got in the front, I was able to dial 911 again. After Tegan dialed, I say, hey, I got this convict in the back of my truck. What y'all want me to do with him? So anyway, we had already told the cops the plan was to take him to the convenience store, which is about 1.5 miles up the road. Anyway, he knocked on the door before I got there and said, hey, just let me out right here. So I let him out, and I'm like, you good, man? You good? Can I just want to make sure you're okay? I was polite. He was polite. I gave him credit. He was actually very polite. But again, he was probably really tired, trying not to get in any trouble, raising any red flags. So anyway, the cops come zooming in about 30 seconds, maybe a minute later, going up the road where he walked up, and they were able to get him. But that'll raise your heart rate there a little bit when you get escaped convicts show up on your porch and you don't know if he's armed or not.
Absolutely, yeah. But, good job, man.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. I just had to share that a little bit for historical sake.
Well, that was quick thinking as well, because you never know what happens. You grab a gun and try to get that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to escalate a situation.
No.
You want to de-escalate a situation.
Right.
But it's funny how that happened. I thank the good Lord that I was able to stay calm, and the way Mom and Daddy raised me, I give them credit, and it all worked out good. I wish I could have gotten some reward money. There's a few $1,000s through Crime Stoppers.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
But you have to call them before you actually call 911, or it's null and void. So. Thanks a lot, Crime Stoppers. Thanks for nothing. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'll get some kind of rewards on that. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, that's my exciting story for the weekend. I helped Neb, an escaped convict was considered armed and dangerous.
You make the front page of the paper?
Nah, they hadn't done anything in the paper yet.
Oh, okay.
You can just send the county at least a transport bill. Say I transported him.
Well, yeah, that's a good idea. I might
send them a certified letter. Say you owe me such.
I went to high school with our local sheriff and his wife, so. They're good folks. We're lucky to live in a pretty tight-knit community here in McRae. And talking about small communities, you're from Kibbe, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
And I've got family that lives over in Kibbe, some Edges, and some. My grandmother on my dad's mom, she was McGahee, and I know you live just down the road from Richard McGahee, and he passed away recently. And which they were that old school, hard working generation, man.
Yes,
they don't make them like that anymore. But what's it like living in Kibbe and growing up in that area?
Quiet for the most part. I didn't actually grow up there. My wife grew up there, and I think y'all are actually some distant kin. But my wife grew up there, and it's just quiet out. For the most part, there's some people down the road that I think they're trying to build a racing motor or something, and sometimes they'll get that thing, and I guess they get it something tuned up on, and they'll rev it up. And it's, but other than that, it's, just quiet country living. I'm not much of a people person, so I kind of stay to myself and don't really, if people say hey to me and stuff, I say hey, but I don't really go out into the community and much, except for my wife's family. They live around there, and we'll go visit them and stuff. But it's a quiet little life.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a people person, but you're super polite. Especially in this day and time, people really appreciate that. Now, with these shows in Nashville and all this other stuff, I'm curious, who are some of the coolest people that you are starting to look up to in the country music circuit that maybe you've met?
Yeah, well, nearly everybody I've met has been super nice up there. We met hadn't met too awful many like what you call famous people or whatever since I started. But we'll meet musicians that's played with Merle Haggard, that's played with Kenny Chesney and Tracy Lawrence, and you name it. Alan Jackson, and a lot of these guys don't get the credit. A lot of people wouldn't recognize their name on the list. You go down and say, "Oh, Alan Jackson, I know that. I know Tracy Lawrence," but say like what's one of them guys? I can't remember the name.
Well, we was talking about Brent Mason's brother. Randy plays drums there, and he used to play for.
He played for Merle Haggard for a long time, and a few different ones.
And Aaron Walton, well, me and Don, the first time we went over there to the Music City Bar and Grill, we just walked in because there's some incredible good music going on, and so the steel guitar player, he played for Martina McBride and Leanne Rhymes, and so I asked the guys, I said, "How often do y'all practice?" And he said, we don't practice any at all. So after the show was over with, he said, "Well, I play for so and so, and I play for so and so, and I play for so." And like the keyboard player played for Alan Jackson. Yeah. So they guys don't need any practice.
So yeah, those guys, the musician, like the studio musician or the band musician, I think is very underrated.
They are,
and that's what makes the music. Because to me, I can go and play acoustic stuff, and in my mind's eye, I'm thinking after about 5 songs, people's tired of hearing me and my acoustic. But now if you got a whole band, it just livens the world up, But anyway, we met a lot of musicians and stuff. I tell you, probably one of the coolest people I've met since we started doing it is Manuel Quaves.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the guy that if you don't know who Manuel is, he's the guy that makes all the rhinestone nudie suits for the country singers and like, back Porter Wagner was one that wore just a bunch of them crazy suits and stuff. He made some of those, and he used to work. The guy that invented the nudie suit, from what I understand, I'm a little bit hazy on the history, but the guy that invented, his name was Nudie Cohen, and Manuel worked with him. And I think in the 70s was it Nudie died,
right?
And he kind of took actually Manuel branched off before that, but anyway. So he's been doing this for years, and the iconic gold suit that Elvis wore, and then the '68 comeback concert with the black leather. He made both of those. He said that he dressed Clint Eastwood for Rawhide and all the Sergio Leone westerns, and he's worked with Johnny Cash, and he sold me anything Marty Stewart wears he made. And
our friend Michael Imboni's got
Michael Imboni went up there, and she's got one of his suits, and just anybody wears Manuel's clothes, and we went in there, and I thought we was just gonna go in there and meet him, say hey, and look around and leave, but
he's trying to sell y'all something.
Yeah. He come in there. We come in there, and he remembered Terry from years ago, and he has he's a little short Mexican man, has a really heavy accent. He says, "Come in, sit down, we talk." And we went to the back. He had some chairs, and we sat there for an hour and a half, and just talked and telling the stories and stuff like that. And he is a super hilarious guy. He has no political correctness at all whatsoever.
What comes up comes out.
and that's one thing I love about him is he don't care if he won't say it. He says now he kind of cusses a little bit, but he is a funny and cool dude. He's just so smooth acting.
I didn't warn Aaron about that.
Yeah, but he's just so smooth acting, everything he says and everything he does, and he We got up, and he said, "Yeah, look around, act like you want to buy something." And I was looking. I tried on one of the coats, and the first one I tried on, it was way too small because I'm like you said, I'm a pretty big dude. I'm 6 foot.
What did he say?
260. And I said, "I think this one's a little small." He said, "It's not my fault you grew up to be a mountain." So he was a cool dude. He even let me try on a coat that he wasn't even finished with. The liner was still out, and wasn't in it, and everything. And he helped me. He said, "I think you like this," and he helped me put it on without messing it up. And I was like, "I'm gonna to tear this coat to pieces. This thing probably costs more than my car.
I've heard.
They're pretty
not cheap.
They're pretty expensive. I ain't gonna say what he told me on the coats because I think he kind of likes to keep his prices a little on the hush hush because you start.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, you start looking them up and online, and you can't find a price nowhere. Mm-hmm. Nobody will tell you how much they cost. You have to call him pretty much and see. Mm-hmm. And let's just say that I'm gonna have to do some more shows before I get one. I'll put it that way. But man, them things, I felt some kind of cool with that coat on.
I see you more as the flannel shirt and cowboy hat kind of guy. But
I can afford that.
Yeah, I can afford that too. I do some side music myself, so I got top hats. I have I don't have cowboy hats. I got these little leather top hats, and that's kind of become my thing with some of the stuff I do. But I like a good hat. My problem is I wear a size XXX, legit. I mean, my head is like, I think we measured the other day like 25 and something centimeters, which is huge. I mean, it's hard for me to find a hat. So when I find one, I'm like, finally. Yeah. You probably get a Stetson sponsorship here before too long. I would think that's possibly in the stars for you.
Hopefully, them or Resistol. Right now I wear Resistol, which a lot of people don't know this. I don't know if this, maybe they won't hear this and not sponsor me. They're the same company. Hmm. Stetson and Resistol is the two biggest rivals in
I thought they were the same. See,
they are.
Yeah.
They're on, and you look at their hats, you look at them, and they look exactly the same, and it's because they are made in the same factory. They're both owned by Hatco, I think is the name of the company.
Like Fender guitars, I've heard that the USA plant is like on the Texas border, and the Mexican plant's like 10 miles across the border. It's like
probably,
yeah.
Prices are different.
Yeah, and I think some of the electronics might be different. I bought a Lakeland bass guitar for the studio here, and the ones made overseas, they make them in Indonesia. They cost like $1,000 less than the ones they make in the States, but it's the same wiring, same pickup, sounds exactly the same. They just made in a different spot. But man, I played that bass on David McMahon's track. I don't remember if I played it on yours.
I can't remember which one you used.
But man, it's got a nice tone.
That's like a Toyota and Lexus. It's the exact same car with different emblems.
Chevy and GMC. I mean, my mom just got a Yukon, so I'm well aware of the GMC stuff. About time for me to get a new car. My wife, she's probably like, we need something new. But no, this has been fun. You guys got anything else you want to share before we kind of wind down?
I think that's it. We'll say I don't think we've mentioned this, but I do have a new EP out. You helped re-record it. We done it here in the studio. But some of the songs we were talking about, Always on My Mind. I think it's only got 5. Always on My Mind, Another High, Bigger Than a Heartbreak, As They Carry Me Back Home, and I'm Gonna Be Somebody. It's a 5-song EP, and you can download it or stream it anywhere there's music except for Pandora, because they're a little bit finicky on their submission process. But anyway, anywhere else you can get it. And on my website, Aaron Tanner Music, and you can get the CD. We actually have CD copies. You can buy those. And when you buy the CD, you get a free download with it if you buy it through the website. Because I don't know how to give it to you, really, if you don't buy it through the website does it itself. But when you buy it through there. And then we also have T-shirts on there. Jamie Lennon, which Georgette's husband, played the steel. The fiddle was played by Sean Bailey, that plays with Josh Turner, and David Spires played the dobro, which is the dobro and steel player for Josh Turner. He played that on one track. And I had to give a shout out to my wife, who sung harmony with me on one of the songs. She did a great job. Yeah, she did do a great job. I was talking about songs on some interview or something the other day, and I didn't mention her, and she wasn't seriously fussing at me. But
he ended up at my house.
Well, I'll say I didn't have to use a lot of pitch creation. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Hannah, just picking on you.
Yeah, but no, it turned out really good, and hopefully, in the future we'll come out with an album. We don't have no kind of date, but I would like to do a full album in the future, and I really wanted to put the EP on vinyl, because I've always loved vinyl, and it's making a big comeback. This past year, they said the first time in like 20 years that vinyl outsold CDs. Vinyl is the highest selling physical music medium that there is right now, and but it just wasn't economically feasible to do 5 songs. An album you can do, and it's
10 songs,
10 or 12 songs. You can do that and then sell it at a profit enough that you could do it. But 5 songs, it just wasn't Because you can't get 5 songs on a 45. I thought about 45s, but you can only get like 1 song on each side.
One of the things people love about an album, and it just goes way back to the old days, people like having something they can hold on to, but they also, you have a bigger palette to do artwork and photos, so it becomes more than just about the music. You can actually kind of get artistic with it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys miss that aspect of vinyl, and I went to a recording school back in '98. They actually taught the reproduction process of vinyl versus CDs versus analog tape, like cassette tapes. Vinyl is actually the most accurate reproduction of a sound source,
really,
because it cuts those sound waves directly into a metal lathe.
Yeah.
And then they take the metal lathe and press the vinyl. So it's actually the most accurate representation of what you record. And I think that might be another reason why it's becoming popular again, because people just want stuff that sounds good. It just feels different. You know, you listen to MP3s and they're okay, but when you listen to something vinyl on a real stereo, it's just got a life to it.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to thank you for having us on the show today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
had fun.
Thank you.
Well, you guys are like family. Y'all live just down the road. Let me do a little closeout here. Terry Richardson, thank you for coming along. Terry is Aaron's manager. Terry,
illustrious manager.
illustrious manager,
and beautiful,
and all those wayward adjectives is what we'll call it. And he's got a nice cowboy hat too.
Thanks.
But we didn't talk too much about Terry. But Terry's a Grand Ole Opry member. Actually, married his wife in the Ryman back in 1990.
1990. I have to remember that date.
If you forget,
because of Roy Acuff.
And if you forget the date, just let me know. I'll remind you.
You got it recorded.
Yeah. And he just knows all kind of people, and it's been a pleasure to get to know Terry. He bought some tracks to me, and we worked on those a little bit. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate his friendship and his musicianship. Aaron Tanner, just down the road in Kibbe, Georgia, grew up. I grew up just practically down the road from where he's from, and I'm from Soperton, and we all just love music. We love making music, so just to be able to work with you guys, have you guys in the studio today, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
thank you.
Anything I can do to help promote you guys, I'll do it, and we got some good things cooking this year, so
Absolutely.
It's going to be a good year. Thank you guys for being here. Got anything else you want to say before we close out?
I think that's it.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank y'all for being here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us here at On the Map, a podcast produced by Music Artist Pipeline. For more about Aaron Tanner, visit his website, www.aarontannermusic.com. That's www.aarontanner.music.com.
As this whole world gets to you.
Be sure to catch us next week as we interview Georgia Country Female Artist of the Year, Corey Spires. Until next week, this is your host, Chuck Hutchison for Music Artist Pipeline.
Some need some.
We put you on the map.
They all stay the same when they lay down at night. Some chase women, some chase money, but man, ain't it funny how everybody's just chasing another high. And I'm glad that one day I gave it all away. Jesus took my wrong and made it right. Now I've found that missing piece, and now my heart's at ease, and I'll never need another high.